Hey there, this is Matt, and yeah, I guess you were not expecting that I was finally going to talk about these movies, which I want to talk about just the first three, the original three. The prequels I'll save one day down the road. But right now I kind of just want to watch the original trilogy again. And a lot of people have been asking about these. Well, not these, but the original Star Wars movies. It only took me a couple years. But I guess I haven't reviewed these yet on the channel because I didn't know what else I could say about Star Wars that every other person hasn't already said. And if you're wondering what this is, a good friend of mine had sent me the despecialized editions a while ago on these DVD-Rs. It's the actual original versions of Star Wars. Like this one doesn't even have the episode 4. It's just a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars, then The Crawl. No episode 4, which I thought was really cool. And I wish somehow these would get a full release on Blu-ray. I know someone's selling like bootlegs, but I don't know. I don't trust the person because I don't know the person. Like this from a good friend, and I trust him. So, and this was for free, not what 45 or 60 bucks or so. I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. So I'm fine with this. But yeah, I wish studios, if they released these versions, which look beautiful, and this is just on a DVD-R. Imagine on Blu-ray, you took these original despecialized versions. Don't know what. Type up despecialized Star Wars in YouTube to find out more information. There's stuff that fans themselves did and made, and bit by bit, the first original versions of each of the original Star Wars movies, cleaned them up, original music, I mean, the same special effects, everything, from when this was first released in 1977, and that one in 1980, and the other one in 1983. So I commend the people who did that. I think Harmy and company. Again, what's the fucking big deal? Just release them, work out a deal. Whoever's holdout knocked it off. With that said, Star Wars are movies that I saw a few times when I was a kid, but it's not like a lot of people. Like a lot of people, they saw Star Wars and it changed their life. That wasn't the way for me. It was more, I saw those three movies and I liked them. Like I liked a lot of movies. And maybe because as a kid, I was leaning more towards Rambo, Commando, Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme, or Cyborg with Van Damme, Out for Justice, I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren, the first two Ninja Turtle movies, horror films like Leviathan and Jacob's Ladder. Like these were the movies. I'm like, yeah. Then Star Wars, I was the guys like, oh, it's cool. Tremors, yeah. So I was one of those weird guys. So I guess I'm sort of out of the majority who hold it. I like the movies, but I don't know how you put it. I just saw them as three movies. I guess the simplest way to put it. And God, this is the hard thing. What the hell do you say about Star Wars? People know how it was made. People know how George Lucas was basing it on the Flash Gordon serials and other serials of that ilk. How there were people who didn't believe in it, and this was in a way a gamble for 20th Century Fox. Came out, became a huge blockbuster. You have the great score by John Williams. You have a cast that has Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Peter Cushing, Alec Guinness, the voice of James Earl Jones. Written and directed by George Lucas. Great special effects, old school special effects. That looking at it in this cleaned up way the fans did it looked great, and I think it held up very well. At least the way they cleaned it up, and I mean you have from the opening titles, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and that's sort of the thing is this movie. The simplicity of it, I think, is a reason why it became such a phenomenon. I mean, of course, the special effects, the great music, the things that brought up the lightsaber, the Force, Darth Vader, Han Solo, characters that became iconic. But it's a fairy tale story. A boy and a girl and a galaxy far, far away. And that is the reason why it does work. Mark Hamill, I think he does fine the role. Yeah, once in a while you have the, but I do this power converter. But overall, I think he does fine in the role. And lo and behold, unlike certain characters, there's a build up to his character that made more sense to me. And you have the scene where he finds his aunt and uncle dead, and it's very grisly. Like you just see those bones. Considering this was supposedly just a kid's film, that's pretty dark for just a kid's film. Of course, people forget the Grimm fairy tales. Those are pretty dark too for just kid stories. And you have this buildup of these characters, Han Solo, the smuggler, Princess Leia, who is strong and fits. She's not a pushover. She's not a damsel in distress. When Luke Skywalker's trying to get him to swing, she's shooting and killing stormtroopers. When they're stuck in the narrow corridor, she's like, give me the gun, shoots, let's go down the garbage chute. Worked well. No one complained. There's no reason to complain. Carrie Fisher did a good job. Harrison Ford had charm, charisma, likability, and a lot of his lines. It was a boring conversation anyway. Great kid, don't get cocky. A lot of great characters made by special effects. Chewbacca, R2-D2, C-3PO. Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing, you have these two well-studied actors that have been around for a while at that point, coming in and bringing class to the production. Like Alec Guinness, I haven't seen this film in a while, but it just reminds me just how good Peter Cushing and Alec Guinness are in their roles. Alec Guinness just played such a great Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Peter Cushing held his own against Darth Vader. And then watch it and you realize, man, this is a simple movie in a good way. Bad guys want this droid. They need to get out of there, take it to point A. They do. The planet gets blown up. They get taken to point B, the Death Star. Rescue the princess. Go back. The bad guys are coming for us. We kill, destroy the Death Star. And maybe that's why of the three films, it's my favorite. Because of the three films, for me, it has most of that fairy tale aspect. And it's a standalone movie. It can play as a standalone film. And it sort of makes me wonder, what would the world be if you only had this one movie? Like, imagine if this film did not do well. I know George Lucas was talking about at points, he would somehow, some way get those movies made. But I'm just saying, what if this was a massive flop? Like, I don't know, Blade Runner 2049 was a flop. With one movie, how would the world be? Would the world be any different movie wise, cinema wise? Would it be a cult film like how like Blade Runner grew? I wonder if there's anyone that would think it would be better if it was just one movie. Me, I don't know. I like all three movies, but and I think it should have just been three movies. And we Return of the Jedi, no more. But it just, I don't know, it just made me think watching it. What if it was just one movie? I wonder how that world of cinema would have been. I don't know, it just made me think. I guess because I looked up a lot of movies and movies that were never made, it makes me think of, well, I wonder what that alternate reality was if Arnold Schwarzenegger did Crusade with Paul Verhoeven, or if Sylvester Stallone starred in that horror creature feature flick called Isobar on the train with this plant-like creature trying to kill everybody, and Sylvester Stallone has to stop it. Like, what these alternate realities would be with those movies is like, what would it be a world where Star Wars was only one movie? At least you won't have these new movies. Oh my god. I mean, if I go plot by point of the story, people already know it. I mean, well, you have Darth Vader choking a bitch. You have the bitch on the rebellion fleet at the beginning, chokes the shit out of him. Yeah, the officer trying to talk smack to Darth Vader and he chokes his shit out. Darth Vader knows how to choke a bitch. Like Wayne Brady. And it's like, you have the massacre of the Jawas and the finding Aunt and Uncle dead, like I mentioned. And then right after that, you have this torture machine to Leia. So I'm like, I know people say this is just a kid's film, but I'm like, you follow a pretty grisly uncle and aunt bone steaming to a creepy looking torture machine ready to stab the fuck, it seems, with this needle and Princess Leia. I wouldn't say fantasy. I mean, it's a fantasy film. I wouldn't say a kids' film. Fantasy film. And that's the thing. I mean, it's sci-fi, but I can see why people maybe look at it as more as fantasy. I keep mentioning that fairy tale aspect. I think, sadly, in my opinion, that's one of the many things that the new Star Wars people running the show don't understand is that these movies, you're looking at them as sci-fi films when they're really fairy tales and fantasies. And you try to look at it as sci-fi. I don't want to say realistic sci-fi, but I don't know, maybe it's just me being foolish. But I think J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson, they don't understand that these movies are the fantasy fairy tale thing, which is why they became mythic that people look to. And me, like I like the films. I never collected the action figures. I never collected the posters or anything. But I like the movies. But for me, I was like, oh, Ninja Turtles, John Rambo. That was my sort of, I guess, that kind of stuff was my Star Wars. Van Damme was my Star Wars. Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Jeff Speakman. That was more my stuff. But I don't really find much wrong with the movie. The sand people, the lightsaber. When you watch the film again, realize just how little the lightsaber is used in the first movie. And it just made me wonder, what if this movie had not worked? I wonder what it would have been like Kroll. And I like Kroll. And at one point, I liked Kroll more than this. But sadly, I think I like Kroll, but I think I do have to admit I like Star Wars more than Kroll. Because Kroll, I think because Star Wars, it does have two more movies to help. Like the lightsaber isn't used much, but it's used a lot. A bit more in part two. It's used a bit more in part three, Return of the Jedi. While in Crawl, one of the things that pissed me off is I love the glaive. I want to see him use more of it. Imagine if you did sequels. Maybe you use the Crawl more and more. I mean, the glaive more and more. I love the glaive. Like one of the favorite sci-fi weapons. I like Crawl. That's a movie I want to review sometime. I don't know if anytime soon, but sometime I want to review Crawl. That's a film no one talked about, but I like Crawl. But yeah, I probably have to give the edge to Star Wars over Crawl. I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch Crawl again and I'll change. But the lightsaber, when you watch just the first film, it's when Luke turns it on, training with that little remote thing, and when Obi-Wan Kenobi uses it. And you realize, wow, lightsaber's not used much in the first film. So again, imagine if there were no sequels, how little that lightsaber would have been used. I wonder if, man, I wish they used that lightsaber more. I don't know, just weird thoughts. I guess I'm going on these weird tangents because what the hell more can I say about Star Wars that every single person has already said? And there are a few people who don't like Star Wars movies, and I find that interesting in a good way. I like the movies, but it proves my point that I keep saying about so many movies. Every movie has a fan and a non-fan. Even the most popular movies like Star Wars, the originals, have their non-fans too. Do I disagree? Sure. I like the movies, but I don't. They're not my favorite films of all time. But I find that in a cool, interesting way. I don't know how else to explain. I just find it cool. Because some people say interesting as if interesting. No, I mean like, oh, that's cool. So if you don't, feel free to type down below, man. And if people give you shit, feel free to defend yourself. I mean, no one should give you shit for a different opinion. Unless someone acts like an asshole. But at the end of this. Yes, this is the version where Han Solo shoots first at Greedo, which makes more sense to me than the stupid looking Greedo going like that fucking special edition where Han Solo's like if it's a fucking Benny Hill. No, just let him fucking shoot first. What's the problem? The guy was ready to kill him. He was smarter than Greedo. The fucking name says it all. Greed. That means you don't trust the guy named Greedo. Greed is in his fucking name, so you better shoot him first. They're not going to have that kind of shit in Solo. So fucking low, you stay there so no one can watch you. I mean, you have the cool bar, the alien bar with all these different kind of creatures. And again, for a kids film, people keep calling it a kids film. Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts the thing's arm off and you see blood. I appreciate little stuff like that. I appreciate the look of the Death Star. It's a cool looking space station. The look of the stormtroopers. Yeah, I know they never shoot right, but you name 100 action movies I like, they do the same thing. And little stuff like the little chest thing, let the Wookiee win. That's no moon. It's a space station, which reminds me of a line in Twister with Bill Paxton. Someone says that line, "That's no moon, it's a space station." I love Twister. I did a fan commentary and a review for Twister, so for those who are interested. And Alec Guinness, he brought a lot of class to his role when he's talking to Luke and trying to help him out. Hey, the Force will be with you always. And he flows his dialogue well. Han Solo has some fun moments. We don't kill her. Better her than me. Shooting blasters at stormtroopers. And you have the bit where Han Solo is chasing after stormtroopers and then has to stop because there's a bunch coming at him. As if he's like, oh shit, and runs back. Then the scene with Luke and Leia, and they got a swing, and they're both shooting at the stormtroopers, and they fly out. Obi-Wan fight with Darth Vader, let himself be one with the Force. The fun scene where they're fighting the TIE fighters with these blasters as part of the Millennium Falcon. The look of the Millennium Falcon is a cool looking ship. Everyone keeps calling it garbage, but to me it looks cool. They get to Rebellion, there's a weak spot, the Death Star battle, cool battle. You didn't need CGI enhancements. You just need these guys to clean up the... When you clean it up and use the original version, it looks great. It looks great. The guys or guy who did this should be fucking hired and do the Blu-rays. I guarantee you, if you release that, it would be the biggest selling Blu-ray set. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. If you release these on Blu-ray, these specialized versions, it'd be the highest selling Blu-ray set of all time. I would bet money on it. I would bet money on it, and I think I would win. It was a cool looking. I love the trench run, the narrow. Just really impressive what they could do with special effects back in technically 76, because it came out in 77. Really impressive what they could do. And I see why a lot of filmmakers saw that film and were like, wow, you can do that. And it ushered a new age. You had TV shows like Battlestar Galactica, which really wanted to be like Star Wars, but on TV. Many other movies. Kroll, I guarantee, was made because of the success of Star Wars. Many other movies. Battle Beyond the Stars. Roger Corman producing that. And what was the other fucking movie that ripped off footage from Battle Beyond the Stars? Well, there was a bunch of them. There's one with David Mendenhall. Like, I forget what the fuck it was called. There was another one called Star Crash. There's a lot of movies like that. And I guess that shows when you're popular enough, you don't get copied a lot. That'd be an interesting question. What are your favorite Star Wars ripoffs? Star Wars copies, however you want to call it. Even overseas, they would copy Star Wars. So you had Brazilian Star Wars, you had Turkish Star Wars, and so much stuff. You had video games, you had almost everything you put onto Star Wars. And what's sad, the actors didn't get much of that, even though it was their faces being put on it. They didn't get much of that pie, which was bullshit. And George Lucas, you should have done something, at least for the main actors. For fuck's sake. It's ridiculous. And the ending, it's a feel-good ending. They get their awards after Luke Skywalker. Han Solo helps him out by shooting the TIE fighters with Darth Vader. Y'all set, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home. And Luke Skywalker gets in and blows up the Death Star. Happy ending. Feel good. They get their medals. Award ceremony. I, this could work as a standalone movie. Like, if you had no more sequels, you'd be like, okay, story's good. Kind of like the Matrix films. And I like the Matrix sequels like I like the Star Wars sequels. Well, the first two. Empire and Return of the Jedi. But like the Matrix, you could look at that as a standalone movie, and most people do. Because the ending, yeah, there's more to do, but you can see that being an ending and no more. Same with this. Yeah, Darth Vader's out there somewhere, but you see that as an ending and no more. And maybe that was by design, because it was a gamble. What if it doesn't work? But it definitely paid off for them. But yeah, I like the actors involved. I like the special effects. I like the soundtrack by John Williams. A lot of the stuff they came up with, the lightsaber, the Wookiee, Chewbacca, the R2-D2 droid, the look of C-3PO, the look of the Death Star, escapism, entertainment of the rescuing the princess and saving the day and blowing up the big death machine. That they don't fucking pretty much copied almost all of that in Force Awakens. And even if you watch this again, it's like, man, this is so much of a better constructed movie than The Force Awakens. Just comparing the two films. Because, again, this kept its simplicity. It was just a movie about a boy and a girl in a galaxy far, far away. Not trying to put whatever political bullshit or whatever fucking other bullshit or whatever fucking other mantra or whatever other fucking thing you want to go to make it more complicated or more this and more that. Sometimes people forget simplicity. Sometimes is the best medicine. Sometimes is the best way to go. And people don't want to go that route because they equal simplicity with badness. That's not always the case. This is an example of that. Because of the three Star Wars films, I like Empire, I like Return of the Jedi, but the first one is my favorite. And it has great moments like when Luke Skywalker's just looking at those two suns. Nice moment, no dialogue. Great piece of music by John Williams. And moments like that are simple. Just him looking at the sky, but effective. And yeah, the special effects are great, but those little moments help as well with the movie. But yeah, there's plenty of reviews out there. Hell, my friend Mike OCP did like an hour and 42-minute movie review and retrospective that I'm actually going to rewatch it again after I get done with this. I'm sure anything he said in that is, you just watch his video and about 1,000 other people have reviewed Star Wars. So I guess it's just my weird way of doing it. But thanks for watching. Take care. Force will be with you always. Unless you watch these shitty new Star Wars films. And then the Force will be like a Force fuck up your ass. With not a lightsaber, but a dildo. And a rusty one too. So if you can find these to download or whatever, feel free. Or I know there were DVDs back in the day that had both versions, and they're like the Laserdisc scan of it, or yeah, the VHS tapes, VHS scans. It's well worth revisiting. It was a lot of fun. And Disney, if you want to rectify all the crap you do and just release these fucking movies on Blu-ray. Yeah, I like the films, but there's people who even adore them as much as I adore the Rambo films, like To the 10th Power. And I'd buy a Blu-ray set. A lot of people would. Disney, you bought Fox. I don't know what other deal you need. Maybe you need George Lucas's thing. Maybe you need something else. Get off your ass to do something. Because fans did your job. You dumbasses. Just, these are cool on DVD-R. I would love to see what a Blu-ray would look like of it. But thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you later.